Hey guys, it's Jermaine Morgan here, and you're watching Grooves and Motivation Live. I appreciate you joining in today. Today, we're going to talk about something interesting. $1,000 for 3 songs? We're going to dig into it, so stay tuned. All right, let's get into this thing this morning. I appreciate you guys again for joining me, whether you're watching now or live or in the actual replay. I appreciate it for everybody that joins in with me on these good old Tuesdays. So, okay, well, I guess today's Tuesday. I'm off. It's been a really, really busy weekend. I literally got to check my calendar right now because I feel like I'm off a day. It's been a long weekend. But anyway, yeah, it's Tuesday. I'm on it. So anyway, jumping right into this thing, I got a little groove I'm gonna play this morning while you guys jump in, and be sure as usual to let me know in the chat where you're watching from, and we're gonna get this groove going. I'm gonna let the latecomers come in really quick. What's up, Marco? Bassist that cooks, good morning to you. Soul Cup from Texas, good morning to you. Valeria, good morning to you. Kenya's in the building. What's up, George? Basis that Cook says, so is this your favorite over the Warriors? I think for me, this is one of the newer ones, and I am kind of, what's my word I'm looking for? I'm partial to six strings, just especially when I'm playing this type of stuff. So that's really the answer to that, the short, long answer for that. I'm born here. What it do, family? Good morning to you. FL Miller, good morning to you. Lisa, okay, I got you. What kind of bass is that? And did you do any mods on it? No, this is Lisa. This is actually custom. This is my six-string Serene bass built by Scott Serene. So no, I did no modifications on this particular bass. All right. I basically had it custom built, so I wouldn't have to do any modifications to it. So hopefully that clears it up. Hopefully you had a great lesson yesterday with Nate. Black Hawks, what's up? What's up? What key is that track in? It's in A flat, so it's just moving through the chord changes. From F to the E flat, back to A flat, to the 4, D flat, to that G flat or F sharp, the 5. Oh, I'm in a sus, not 5. You can actually think of this in two ways. You can think of it in A flat, or you can think of it in B. And B gets a little weird if you just start only viewing it in B. But A flat really makes it simple for me. So right, we're back in A flat there. Awesome, awesome, Lisa. Over the 4. So it resolves to that back to the 4. One of those tracks that I just kind of just played with chord changes and that kind of thing and just grooved around it. I got a little synth bass that's a scratch bass in here. What is that? Chitty bass? Is that right? Good morning to you. Your fretboard looks large. Oh man, that's funny. Thank you. Appreciate you for breaking that down. No problem, man. I gotta work on those. So I haven't been practicing on this moment. I haven't been practicing as much as I normally do. I've been really, really busy, and as of this past 2 weeks, been dealing with a death in the family concerning my wife and her family. So it's like I've been out of the loop in terms of the time I really like to spend digging into this thing. It's been a lot going on, so it's like I feel rusty. I feel rusty in some areas. Sean Lewis, good morning to you, man. Are you running your bass through audio interface? Yes, I am. I'm using the Studio Live AR16C. That's what my bass is running through. And I did have a link for that if you want to check that out. It's probably in my description of this video. That link if you want to check out that interface that I'm using. It's like a 16 channel interface. I don't know if you need something that big, but you can check out other ones. Okay, I see the comments coming in. Let me catch up. Zion, Illinois is in the building. Where could you work in some melodic minor in a progression like that? I try not to think about it. You know, a lot of this stuff I try to get under my hands and then I forget about it, you know. So like if I'm playing, so I might just figure out, Let me think. Let me think. Let me think. Because I want to would figure out how would approach it. And so I could play off of that. I could play off of that. The F. You probably could pull off that F. I might, just kind of pull it off somewhere within using that, but I would probably have to just play around with it in context. Again, I try not to come at this stuff from a technical standpoint because I notice I have a tendency to overthink when I like, okay, let me play melodic minor here instead of just getting it under my hands and getting the sound of what it sounds like and then see how I can navigate it within the stuff that I'm already doing. That's generally or typically how I try to approach any new concept that I'm trying to add. I try not to think from the standpoint, okay, this is melodic minor, this is that. I personally, now, so other people might do well thinking like that, but me personally, that's just not how I learn to play. So it's like it's better for me to learn what that sound sounds like, learn how it feels against the music, and then incorporate it as as needed. So it's like, so like there, I started on the where we were playing the 4. And I just ran my melodic minor there. Now you got me thinking. And now I'm thinking I'm confusing it with another thing I've been playing and practicing around on. So now you got my brain you got my brain thinking about what I'm doing now. So I generally don't think about it. That's to answer your question. I typically don't think about it. It's one of the things, again, I just work out the sound and figure out how I like to use it, and we'll go from there. Yeah, but anywho. Really the only thing I'm kind of really doing here is outlining a lot of the chords and just kind of understanding where I'm going. If we're playing off of just that major, if you're going to take a major 7 or, right, and then we go and do the same thing over that E. So I just basically kind of play off of those chords that I know I'm going to. And then we go back to. So that's more so my approach to it. And I'm hearing those chords in my mind, and every now and again I step outside of that. That's kind of the way I'm, navigating around it. All right, so let me get back here before I get into a bass lesson. Thank you guys for those condolences. I'll be sure to share that with my wife. Thank you so much for that. Xavier Jones, good morning to you. BE, hello again from Royce City. Sleeting, okay, y'all got sleet happening over there. Y'all can hold all of that. I see. I guess it just takes some time. I recently started with the melodic minor stuff, so I haven't really internalized it yet. Yeah, melodic minor is like one of those, for me, it's like one of those recurring things that like I'll spend a lot of time on it, and I get away from it and play on some other stuff, and then I'll come back to it because there's so much there that you can explore with the melodic minor, and so many different ideas. And I notice like a lot of your more modern bass players really dig a lot into the melodic minor scale. And so for me, I have the tendency to kind of stay away from what everybody else is playing. Not to say that anything is wrong with the melodic minor scale. It's just if I'm going to do it, I try to find a sound that complements what I already do, and it sounds like something I would do as opposed to sounding like something this player or that player would do. So just the way I approach it is like I find different ways to kind of work it into stuff that I'm playing. Like when I'm really digging in and playing with it. Like I think probably 5 or 6 years ago, I was really digging heavy into the melodic minor scale and just kind of finding different ways to go through it. And again, I started implementing that stuff in my playing. So I heard from a wise theory teacher one time back in college, and I didn't take heavy theory for any of you guys that's asking. Mostly self-taught, but I did learn some music theory in college. But one of the things I heard is like learn all of this and forget it. And that's exactly what I do. So when a person catches me off guard, it's like, wait a minute, let me think. How do I play a major? I know how to play these scales, but I literally have to think about it because it's like soon as I tell you the best things for me, and I've shared this before, and we're going to move on, but I shared this before, and I often share this. The way I retain is by teaching. So the bass lessons that I have here on this channel was really me being selfish. A lot of that stuff was me sharing it with you guys so I could help myself to remember it, because the way my brain is set up, I don't just naturally recall a lot of stuff easily like that. I remember what I'm playing and I could just go to it and do it. But just calling out the names of certain things, I always, just transparency moment, I always struggled with that stuff early on when I was learning music theory and those types of things. And that was my Achilles heel, so to speak, like just really understanding certain things. So I guess that is the thing that gave me understanding to help other people learn, because I understand that everybody does not process the same way. And sometimes it takes people different ways of, getting stuff. And one of the things I try to incorporate in my coaching calls is trying to understand what the bass player needs or what that person needs in that moment, as opposed to just giving them a whole bunch of information. It's like, okay, this is melodic minor, this is harmonic minor, this is this, and this is mixolydian. It's too much information, man. Come on. So I try to back away from doing that and just make sure that you understand how to implement this stuff. You can go back and get the name of it and all that kind of stuff, but if you don't hear it and understand it in terms of what it sounds like, how does that make you feel when you play it, those types of things, because you're hearing the music. You're not, most of us who are listening as listeners, you're not sitting up there with a sheet of paper just reading the music. You're listening as a listener. So as you're learning this stuff, we as creatives and we as musicians who try to perfect our stuff, keep in mind that we got people who are listening. They're listening from here and from here. They're not necessarily listening with their eyes or got their theory caps on when they're listening to you play. They're trying to feel something. So I try to keep those things in mind. And it's pretty easy for me to keep in mind from the way that I came up and the way that I heard music growing up. All right, so I'm gonna leave that alone. Anyway, Christopher says, first, Lisa says, I'm in the DFW, sleeting a lot here. Man, y'all can have that. This weather was crazy. Even driving back from Mississippi Sunday night, it rained all the way. And we took our time, so it normally would be a 6-hour trip. It took me like almost 8 hours because we stopped, and it rained the entire time Sunday. So anyway, Christopher says all the keyboard players are pulling chords from that scale. They using the sharp 5 and the flat 5 and the flat 9 and that stuff. Yeah, all that stuff. And don't get me wrong, all of that stuff is good to learn. I don't want nobody to misinterpret what I'm saying. All of that stuff is good to learn, and it's good to know so that you do have it available if somebody goes there. But what's even more importantly is being able to recognize what it sounds like without somebody telling you, hey, I'm about to play the melodic minor. Because in a gig, it's like nobody's going to call it out. It's like they're going to play it and you're hearing what they're playing. It's, oh, okay, I recognize. I'm stuttering right now. I recognize that, and I'm able to catch what you're doing. All right, got you. Cool. All right, so Blackhawks, is it possible to lose or forget the things you learn on the bass? Absolutely. Absolutely. Say it again for the people in the back. Yes. I probably have forgotten more stuff than I've actually remembered in terms of playing the bass. So that's why when people pop out and say certain things, like it literally takes me a minute to like, wait a minute. I know that because I've taught several lessons on that. Like, let me think about that for a minute. Oh, yeah. And then I hear somebody play it. I know exactly what it is. But absolutely. So if you're going through that you forget the stuff you learned, that's all natural. Like, you have to go back and go over this stuff over and over again. And that's why I say it's good to get it under your hands. It's good to make it part of your muscle memory. So now I can sit here and just enjoy the music. I'm not thinking about what I'm playing. Now, if somebody asks me to explain it, I can break it down for them. But most of the time when I'm playing, and I'll say this disclaimer: I am amazed when I see the players who can just sit there and rip through everything, and they can tell you exactly what they're playing in real time. Like, I can go back and analyze it and tell you what I played. But real time, it's like most of the time, if it's not the basic pentatonic stuff, I'm not thinking about it. I just hear it. I know what it sounds like. And, with theory, I can go back and explain it. But I'm not that guy that sits here, okay, I'm about to play this Neapolitan. Nah, I'm not that dude. That's not me. Anyway, so jumping into this thing before I end up on here too long, and I lose you guys who came on here want to know about the $1,000 for 3 songs. So let me, me, I'm the story dude. So I had not too long ago, I got called about doing this gig, and it was like a last minute situation, and they basically asked me what I would charge to do. Before I finish this whole story, let me back up. Let me back up and give you all the context, because I think the context is going to help all of this make more sense. The context is I put up a post, not a post, but last week, if you guys were here for my live, I talked about why most musicians give up on their career. So in that, I shared my reasons and some ideas why people give up on their careers. And then I also, towards the end of that video, shared some things that you could do to make sure that you're sweet, make sure that you're taken care of, and you don't have to just take the L every time for your gig. So I had several people to comment on that video, but I had someone in particular. I don't know if you're watching today, and hopefully you are, but I had somebody to comment on that video. I'm not going to mention names or whatever, but I had somebody to comment on that video, and they were talking about just basically how it was almost pointless to really be doing this music thing, because at the end of the day, you're going to end up with, I'm paraphrasing, they didn't say this, but at the end of the day, it's like you're going to end up making pennies. You ain't going to make anything because nobody wants to pay any money anymore. It's the sum total of what they were saying. So that prompted me to do this particular live today. I wanted to kind of address some things in my way, not to poke fun at that particular comment, but I think it's let me first say this. I think it's a really valid comment. I think it's a really valid opinion, and I think you have the right to your opinion about what you feel and your experiences as a musician. And I'm not trying to debate that fact, but I am trying to give a different perspective on it. So that's the reason for this video, one of the reasons rather for this video today. So anyway, I got asked to do this gig, and it was, like I said, it's last minute, and I had to travel just a little bit to get to this gig. And so I just told him a price, and I just gave him the first thing that came to my mind. Okay, all right, well, you want me to do this? I'm gonna need a stack, and then I'm gonna need you to take care of my room and my travel. Okay, done deal. Now keep in mind, the person that called me for this particular gig, they already knew who I was. They already knew my reputation as a musician. They already knew my integrity as a musician. So there was no negotiating about that. It was pretty much, and I will say this, most of my situations as a professional, as a music professional, I don't know why this is, but most of my situations with the people who spend the most money, I rarely negotiate. Let's let that sit for a minute. And I know we're just getting this thing going, but just let that settle in your mind. The clients who pay me the most money, I rarely negotiate with them. I think a lot of that is because when they come to me, they already have an expectation based on what's been delivered to them or what they've heard delivered before. And so we're not going back and forth over the price, because I'm not being undervalued or devalued by this person, because they know what they need, and they know I know how to give them what they need. Basically, they know what their problem is, and they know I can deliver what they're looking for in this situation. And so there's no negotiation. So for this whole $1,000 thing, I told them what I was going to charge them. And there were only 3 songs that I had to play. And I probably played, total playing time was probably maybe 30 minutes tops. Maybe. I'm stretching it because there was some in between stuff. But as far as music that I had to learn, two of the songs I already knew. And I played those three songs and went and did the gig. And that was the end of that. And again, there wasn't any negotiation. I bring that point up to say, yes, it is possible. I know the average musician, I don't know what it is for your city and where you are located, but I think just on average, the average musician is making anywhere from $150 all the way up to $500 a gig. And those songs could vary from, 3 songs to 40 songs, depending on who you're playing for. And that's average musician pay. So you're going from 150 all the way. And that again, it depends on where you are. And if you're in a place that they don't believe in paying musicians, and I ain't just talking church, I'm just talking in general, the music industry in general. You could get paid less than that for doing way more work, and they're having 4 and 5 rehearsals for $100 gig. I know, I've done it before. So it's like I understand the sentiments of the gentleman that made that comment concerning the fact that you'll do well to get you 3 or 4 gigs during the week, and if you got 2 or 3 students, you might survive. But as I understand and respect that gentleman's sentiments, I don't fully agree. I think it has everything to do with knowing who you are and knowing what your value is and you setting a standard. Now, I'm not saying that every single gig that I've done has paid $1,000 for me to come in and play 3 songs. No, I'm not sitting here saying that. And I have had gigs to pay more. But what I am saying is you set a standard. You set a bar. And it's up to you whether you're going to decide to keep lowering that bar or raising that bar. It's up to you, because nobody can twist your arm and make you play. Now, if you just need the money and you continue to be in the situations where you need the money, then by all means do what you have to do. But understand, when you're doing what you have to do, you're communicating something to the people who are paying you. You're communicating something to them, and you're subconsciously locking in their minds, oh, I can get you to do it for this much. And so you have to really be careful with that, with setting your value as you're growing as a musician, even some of you professional musicians who've been doing it for a while, and you're phenomenal, and you don't get your worth. And it's like, well, people ain't paying musicians. I've been learning. One thing I've been learning is to watch my mouth. Watch what I say, because some of it call it the law of attraction. We can take it to scripture, like, in terms of what you speak out of your mouth, the things that you say out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks, and all these other things. There's several scriptures, but I'm not going to go into all of that. But my point is, you attract to you the stuff you talk about. You ask for a certain thing, especially when you pray. You ask for a certain thing and believe that you already have it. But if you're not, likewise, on a flip side of that, if you're believing before you even get a gig, or they ain't gonna pay no money, or they cheap, you're gonna have what you're talking about, because you're attracting lack to you. And so if you constantly think about lack, if you're constantly thinking about not having enough and people not wanting to pay and people not want to give any money for anything, well, you're going to attract those type of people who don't want to pay and who don't want to give you any money. They're going to constantly be attracted to you, because that's the energy that you're putting out. And so I'm personally, over the years, it's been an ongoing, I've learned. You got to watch what you say. You got to watch what comes out of this thing right here. Because you look at the fruit of what you're producing when you speak, and it's like, wait a minute, I spoke all of that. I said that this was going to happen, and it actually happened. And so, again, some people call it the law of attraction, but you do have to be careful of your words. If you don't think it worked, keep doing it. Keep talking like you're talking. If it's negative talk, keep talking that negative talk, right? And you're going to see the benefit, or not the benefits, but the fruit of that talk that you've been talking. All right, so let me check out a few of these comments before I keep going. Cedric Jones says, words of wisdom. What does monthly membership include? I'll come back to that, because I don't want to lose my train of thought here. But you said your ability and pay must be equal. many times musicians don't have the talent to match the pay they want. Absolutely. Now, I'm not necessarily referring to that. I absolutely agree that if you're going to be charging a certain amount, because I have recently as well seen a situation where musicians are being compensated exactly what they're asking for, but yet they're not putting in the work. They're not putting in the work to demand, wait a minute, like they paying you what? And you doing, nah, that ain't it. So I've seen both sides of it, but I also seen the side where you have musicians who have put in the work and who are worth a certain amount and they don't get paid that certain amount. So I'm not necessarily referring, thank you for kind of bringing that point up, because I'm not necessarily referring, if you know you have stepping and you getting overpaid for underproducing, then that's a whole different personal thing that you got to really look at and ask yourself, am I really handling this with integrity? Now, we all can get into situations where it's like, it's unmerited. Like, I didn't earn this. It was just a favor that I got this situation. It was a good gig. And I know I'm not as good as this person, that person. But if your mentality is to become that and you just happen to get the gig, then that's a whole different situation. Now you just rise to the occasion now that you got that situation. Don't settle there and say, well, I got the gig, so I'm good. No, you keep raising your personal bar. If you know that this is not your best, then raise the bar. Don't be dishonest in terms of taking from these people, and you're not consistently working to better your craft to give them the best version of what you can offer. Even, let's say this, even if it's good, even if it's already good and it's above average, well, for where I am, man, ain't nobody playing like me. Okay, so is that your personal best though? It don't matter what everybody else around you is doing, because what you want to do is continue to raise the bar yourself. And the more you raise the bar, the more other people will begin to follow suit as you raise the bar for your personal best. And if you set a standard, other people can't help. If they're going to be around you, if they're going to be playing with you, they're going to either have to come to the standard that you've set, or you're going to have to find some more people to be around. Because I know there are situations where, and we've talked about it on this live a lot before, where I've had musicians to say like, man, let me slide over here. I've had musicians to say, man, I'm playing in this particular situation and the other musicians won't learn the songs, and I'm learning the songs the right way. And these cats, they don't really practice and they don't want to learn the songs and all this kind of stuff. So what do I do in those situations? Always remember, if you're in a situation with a band, play with the band. Don't play against the band. Play with the band. Now, if you can't make other people come up to your level, and when I'm talking about making, I ain't talking about being forceful, like encouraging. One of the things I'm reading this book, and I encourage you all to read this book. This is a great book. It's called How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's an old book. Trying to think this was by Dale Carnegie. This is a really old book, but it deals with talking about how to talk to people and that kind of thing. And, learning, even it deals with a lot of people use it for sales and those types of things, but it can be used on so many different levels when you're talking to your family and how you deal with people in personal relationships and all those types of things. And being a person of value in the way that you talk and the way you communicate with people, those are the things that raises your personal value. Because you can play and be a monster all day, but if you're hard to work with, nobody won't pay you for that. I don't want to pay or hire a problem. I heard a good friend of mine say that years ago. It's like, nobody wants to pay for a problem. We want to pay to get rid of problems. And if you develop your communication skills enough and get to the point where you can talk to people and you know how to handle people and you know how to not make everything always about you, but to consider what other people need, and not necessarily always putting the needs of others above yourself, but considering what other people need and not always being about, hey, I got to, this about me. I got it. You know what I'm saying? You have to be the one in that conversation who is considering what the other person needs. And so developing those communication skills and all of those types of things. Carlin, what's up, man? Developing all those communication skills help you to be a better person on your team. And so now that brings value to you. So now people who are in those powerful positions, or people who are able to make certain calls and make certain things happen, they remember you. You might like the particular gig that I'm telling you guys about, that I done. That person hadn't had dealings with me in probably over 4 years, but they remembered me from before, something that they did with me, and they remembered that. So when I told them a price, it was like, okay. I almost feel like I could have told them a higher price, and they would have been like, okay. That's just what I said, and they paid me what I asked for. So now, note to self, note to self, raise the price. But no, but that was just for like I was the side man, so I wasn't trying to whatever, If I was, this was more artist or me being a front guy, that would have been a completely different conversation. But I literally came in to be a side man for this particular thing. But again, it's a note to self, because the thing is your attitude, all these different things, your personality, that stuff. What does it say? A good name goes before you. Like your name goes out before you. So you don't have to do a lot of haggling when you have a good name. When you're that guy that you know how to get people together, you know how to manage, all these different things. When you can do that and you can develop your communication skills, it's like, I ain't got no problem doing it, because you're going to alleviate my problems. And I'm willing to pay you more money because you get rid of problems. People pay you for solving problems. That's really what we get paid for as musicians, for solving problems. What's the problem? I don't have a bass player. Okay, anybody can play bass, but they call you. So why did they call you? So the question is now starting to ask yourself, like, why do they call me? If you're getting called all the time, outside of the fact you kill, what else about you is making people call you? And then flip side, what is it about you that's making people not call you? Something to think about. Something to think about. Lisa says your attitude controls your altitude. Absolutely. I remember hearing that, like, man, at least 25 years ago, I heard that, and that's always stuck with me. Your attitude can determine your altitude. What's my guy name? Napoleon Hill talks about that. And as well, what's his name? Earl Nightingale talks a lot about that. You can adjust your whole life by adjusting your attitude. You can adjust your whole life by just tweaking your attitude a little bit. Check your attitude. And so even for the people that are like, man, ain't no money out here. What's your attitude that's saying ain't no money out here? So you're attracting what you say isn't out here because of the type of attitude, the way you think about it. That's what is pushing the abundance away. And I practice what I talk about, because I have to live this stuff. And again, I have to be mindful of my conversation. I have to be mindful of my inner conversation. Like, Jay, what are you saying? I heard something. I heard something yesterday that was so good. And I just want to share it again, but I heard this yesterday. It's like, your facts, your truth is always the truth, but your facts is sometimes true, but they're not always the truth. Your facts can be saying one thing, but it's like that might not necessarily be the truth in that situation. Like, the fact of the matter for me, let's find a personal situation for me. The fact of the matter is, like, for average musicians, the gigs pay, I told you guys earlier, like from $150 to $500. Those are the facts. I'm not making that up. If you're a musician and you play as a professional, that's what the average gig pays. Get it together. That's what the average gig pays. That's the facts. But my truth was, no, I'm getting a G. That's what I'm gonna get for this. And I'm playing these 3 songs, and this is what. And so now my truth is that. And I don't mean my truth, like I don't have a truth, but I'm saying what the facts say. I don't always have to side with the facts just because this is what the facts are. That might be the facts for that situation, but is that the overall truth? The scenario that this guy used, and y'all know what I believe, so it is what it is. So the scenario what he used, he said the facts said that if you throw people into the fire, they're gonna burn up. That's facts. If somebody get thrown into a fire, they're gonna burn. But for my Bible folks out there, the three Hebrew boys, I can't talk today for some reason. The 3 Hebrew boys were thrown into a fire that was 7 times hotter than it normally is. Now, the fact said that they were supposed to be killed, right? But yet, they came out unscorched. And Daniel, who was thrown into the lion's den, the facts say if you throw a person into a den with hungry lions, you finna be gone. You're going to go in there and find maybe some bones and some toothpicks that the lions using your fingers to clean their teeth. but you're not going to see a person coming out of there whole. That's just not facts. And I know some of you guys, well, that's all here. Okay, you believe what you believe. I know in several situations, even in my own life, facts said I should have been dead. Let's go there. Let's take it to real life. The facts said I should have never had this opportunity. But the truth said, no, this opportunity was always for you. That's what the truth says. So you can identify with what you think the facts and statistics and all these different things say, or you can identify with the truth. The facts may tell you nobody's calling you right now, so you might as well give up on this band thing and or having a gig or being a successful musician, because your facts are telling you, man, look at the last year. You can get called for nothing. Those are your facts. That's the truth, right? Or is it? That's what happened. Those are your facts. But that don't necessarily mean that's your overall truth that you should quit. You got to keep going because you don't know how your story is going to end. All right, this is one thing I wanted to share with you guys. I got up in my little morning thing that I like to do my devotional when I get up in the morning. So this was one of the first scriptures that popped up in my phone when I got ready to do my devotional this morning. I was like, man, it's an oldie but goodie. It's like with Matthew 19 and verse 26, it says, and looking at them, Jesus said to them, with people, this is impossible, but with God, all things are possible. And this was the whole thing, giving you context. Before that, they were talking about, can a man go through the eye of a needle and all this kind of stuff? Or it's easier for a camel, rather, to go through the eye of a needle. And the disciples asked this question. He was like, man, then who can be saved? You know, and then that's when he responded and said, and looking at them, Jesus said to them, with people, with man, this is impossible. But with God, all things are possible. So I'm taking that and I'm blanking it across like anything. Like if that's who I say I serve, anything is possible. So I'm not going to align myself with the facts of there are no gigs. I'm not going to align myself with the facts that we're dealing with a recession or inflation and all this kind of, yeah, it's here, but that don't mean I got to participate in it. I might know that it's going on. I might go to, I got a family of 5, including myself. I might go to Walmart and see that the eggs keep rising. I don't know what's going on with these eggs, but I should know based on my truth of the word that I believe that the Lord God shall supply all my needs according to his riches and glory through Christ Jesus. Like every need that I have. If the eggs go up to $100 and I need eggs, then guess what going to happen when I go to Walmart? I'm going to get them eggs. I hope not. Don't test me, Lord. Because I don't want to pay no $100 for eggs. But I know if it comes down to that, I know that I serve an abundant provider of every single thing that I need. So likewise, if I would like to be paid a certain amount, how does it relate to you? If I would like to be paid a certain amount for a gig, then that is possible for me to be paid a certain amount for a gig. That's just what it is. And I have to believe that somebody is willing to give me exactly what I'm asking for because I'm worth it. Because I put in the time, I put in the work, and I do have integrity. And I'm not doing crazy stuff. You know what I'm saying? I'm not doing crazy stuff. All right, so let me go through some of these comments because y'all, I see y'all over here and I got to get to them before I get too far gone. So Carlin says, you got to know how to be in high level rooms too. There you go. You got to know how to be in high level rooms too. That's good. Your character is essential. Absolutely, Melvin. P. Santa Boogie says, were those tree songs for a recording? You said were those 3 songs for a recording or for a live show? Great question. Those were for a live show. To be more specific, it was for a service. What that was that charge? Let me see here. Was that how you charge? How much you charge? I'm trying to understand what you're saying here. Would that change how much you charge if it was for a recording or a live show? I mean, it depends. It depends on what it is when it comes to recording, because there's a musicians, I guess, or whatever. We set our own rates as to what we will agree to do, because being at home, if you're recording remotely, there's a certain level of convenience that you have that you're able to do it at your own convenience, that maybe some negotiation can happen, but we're not going to go past a certain point personally. Right. So when it comes to recording, for me personally, there might be some negotiation that happened there. But if it requires me leaving home, I got to leave my family. I got to go somewhere else. I got to sit here and learn this music. The thing that I'm looking at is my time you're taking from me. And I don't get this time back. So now I'm trading my time for whatever money you give me. So now I got to see if your money is worth my time, because I don't get whatever time I go give you for this thing. I don't get that back. So those are things I had to learn over the years to start considering. Is this worth my time? Is this worth my effort? Is this worth my energy? Am I going to put, I'm not going to even go to this because I talked about this on so many lives before, but I'm not going to give you the quick version of it. I'm not going to spend all this time learning 50 songs for a gig that's barely going to pay for my gas to get there and get back home. It just doesn't make sense. Just because it's paying money doesn't mean I have to say yes. No is an answer. One of my best friends say that. No is an answer. I mean, it's that simple. No is an answer. Now, what that forces you to do as a musician, you have to be creative. We are creative people. And I think what I was talking about last week is we spend a lot of time being creative on this. And, our instruments and all the stuff we play, we spend a lot of time being creative on those things. But when it comes to being creative and resourceful as it deals with our finances, we're depending on other people. Like, wait a minute. You didn't depend on nobody to learn that song. You didn't depend on nobody to come up with that dope bass line you just played. You didn't depend on anybody to go out and purchase the bass or the instrument that you wanted. You didn't depend on anybody for that. So why, when it comes to creating or generating some income or wealth for yourself, you got to be dependent on somebody that's telling you when you're going to play and what time you got to be there. And all. Not saying that not to gig, but that shouldn't be the only thing that you have going on. It should be something also coming out of your own personal creativity that's able to help you to create exactly what you need and to with your mouth, speak certain things to make it happen for yourself. I ain't just talking about speak stuff out of the air, but no, your walk should line up with the way you talk. So, all right, I'm gonna get off of that. Let's see here. Were those okay? I think I already read that one. That's good. Jamie said that's good. I see you, Carla. Colin says, listen, drumsticks are $14.99 a pair. Absolutely, we gotta pay for this stuff. I don't know. I got I think strings or what, but anywhere, depending on what strings you get, you're gonna spend $20 to $35, $40 sometimes for strings, depending on what you play. And you got to keep changing your strings. You got to keep buying batteries. All that stuff add up. And so you got to think and consider all of these different things that you're spending money on. That's coming out of your pocket, buying cables and all. If you don't have a situation where you have a deal with anybody, then all this money is always coming out of your pocket. And are you getting your value back that you're giving? And being not too ashamed and not too afraid to speak up for what you know your value is, that's important. You got to speak up. I had to learn it the hard way. My mom has always had a saying, a closed mouth don't get fed. And man, that is true. When your mouth is shut, people will look right on over you and walk right on over you. And I will give you what you will accept. And you get mad because somebody over here comes in and they get like, you're getting $150 for this thing. And then they come in and they get $350. It's like, wait a minute. I've been here for such and such. Hold on. What did you tell them you were okay with accepting? Now, have you went back to them and tried to negotiate anything? All right. Okay, you have. All right, good. So what did they say? They said no. All right. So now you give them a choice. You can stay there and accept what they give you, or you can make a choice and do something different. See, the thing is, we're not held hostage to anything. Most people are too afraid to interrupt their comfort. I'm going to go to another comment. All right, so Christopher said, yes, sir, Doc. I'm supposed to be napping before work, but this word is too good to put down. Listen, Cedric, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you missing that nap. We're going to pray your strength. He said, exactly, those 9-volt batteries are up there with the eggs, man. Listen, them 9-volt batteries, they don't be cutting no corners either, man. Those 9 volts, don't fool around and have an 18-volt base. Man, listen, we got to pay for all of this stuff. So my thing that I hope that I'm getting across to you guys today, not to be too long, because I'm gonna shut this down in just a minute, but I hope that you begin to see the power of your thoughts, the power of your words, and the power of your own value. Don't just go along with everything just because that's what people say it should be. That's what they're calling the truth. That is it. I heard something. There's uh, God's truth, and anything else outside of that is just a lie. You know what I'm saying? That God's word is the truth. So I believe what it says. I know this like might be too deep for other people, but it's got me where I am now. And so even for me to say, hey, give me such and such for this thing, and people agree to it, it's like, and I know that there's more out there. I'm passionate. If you guys can't tell, I'm really passionate about this area as it pertains to music and musicians and getting compensated for what we do. Now, I ain't just out there shaking everybody down, but my thing is, it's like, I feel like we're so undervalued. I look at my daughter, and this is where it gets real for me. I have an 11-year-old daughter, and she's been playing probably since, man, she's been pecking at that keyboard probably since she was 3 or 4. When I saw she was interested, I got her a keyboard, and we just been upgrading her keyboard ever since. And she's 11 now, and she's getting really good on that thing. And she works on this skill. And I see her in there, and sometimes I had to go in there many times when she gets frustrated and she's crying, trying to work out this stuff, and she ain't got no gig. And I know that's bad grammar for somebody, but I got to just keep it 100. She ain't got no gig that she has to do. And she's up there working and playing and just trying to work out and hone this craft and hone these skills. Now, this ain't even including going to college for any of this stuff or higher learning or her getting on YouTube and trying to, because she ain't even really got into any of that. It's just she's literally doing old school learning. I got her doing old school learning. I can't really even take that much credit for it. She does it on her own. She hears a song. I encouraged her to do this. Hey, go in there and whatever you hear and go try it. You know what I'm saying? Because she would ask me, "Hey, Daddy, how do I play this?" I'm like, "Okay, just go figure it out." Some stuff I show her, and some stuff I let her get it the old school way. Like go in there and play it, stop it, go back. Okay, you got it. Make sure that's it. Make sure you're hearing the right chords. Make sure that bass note is like she's doing all of that on her own. So if she's gonna sit here and put all this time in, you mean to tell me all these years? So by the time she's 30, 35 years old, or even in her 20s, she's been doing this since about the age of 3, working, and honing this skill. And you mean to tell me she ain't worth $100 for a gig? Man, tell me tomorrow. I've watched her work on this. I've watched her honing. I ain't even talking about myself at this point. I'm watching her work on these skills and hone these skills and going through the tears and all these different things that it's taking for her to improve and listening to music constantly over and over again, figuring out these chords, figuring out all of this stuff that other people are paying people to learn. She's figuring it out the hard way. And you're telling me y'all can't give her but $150 to go learn your 10-song show, and you don't want to pay that? Nah. Mm-mm. So that's why I am determined, and I say, and it's not just for my daughter, but I'm tired of seeing musicians who work and do operate in integrity and do the work of learning songs and do show up on time and do all these things that they're supposed to do that the job requires, and then they die broke because they can't. Some of them can't afford life insurance because these people that they play for won't compensate them to the point where they can afford it, but you're demanding the time for them to sit there and learn all this music. So it would be difficult for a lot of these cats to try to get a 9-to-5 job because they wouldn't have time for the demand that's being required of them. So I've seen it both ways. I've seen it both ways, and I've been on both sides of it. I understand being a full-time musician for over 18 years. I understand it. I understand both sides of it. And now being, where I have a little bit more flexibility in my schedule, I get the sentiments of people everywhere who have been musicians and who've dealt with this stuff. But what I'm saying is you got to stop selling yourself short. because the world or the people who are hiring you aren't just going to get an epiphany. Oh, you know what? We need to start paying musicians more. You got to do something that adds value, that doesn't make people pay you, but it makes them ask the question, why wouldn't I pay that person more? Because that's the thing, demanding it is like, I don't want anything that I feel like I got to twist somebody's arm to give me. I do want what's due me, but I want to make sure that you feel good about giving me, because I equally want to exchange the value to you. And I don't want you giving me something and you feeling some type of way about it. No, I want you to give me something with a cheerful heart. The same way I gave you them songs. You know, I learned that music and I showed up and I did my thing. I want you to feel good about what you're giving me, because you know in your mind and in your heart, what he just gave me is worth 10 times more than what I just paid him. That's the thing. Where you know you're adding value to whatever person pays you, they know in their heart they should be paying you way more, so they have no problem with giving you what you asked for. And so when we know we've done it and we know we've gave it our all, like we really put our all into it, then I think we got a really good equal exchange happening there, and nobody should feel slighted. So yeah, $1,000 for 3 songs. Absolutely. Anyway, guys, I hope this has been super helpful for you guys. Let me see here. Terrence Bivens says a lot of church musicians don't value nor believe in paying music. Now, a lot of churches don't value or believe in paying musicians nowadays. Absolutely. Some of them, I would say some of them don't have the budget, but that's not all the way true. They haven't seen musicians as a priority. And some of it, a lot of it is our fault. Not all of it. A lot of it is our fault. And, you know, there's a lot of things that have to happen, but taking into consideration, without going back over everything I've said today, we got to take some things into consideration. We absolutely have to take some things into consideration. And I believe we can begin to change things for us. So we're not saying that this is helpless, this is hopeless, and if you get this and you get that, you might be all right. No, I know might be all right. I didn't do all this work. I didn't do all of this to might be all right. Nah, I didn't do all of this for that. So if you're in it for that, now keeping in mind what your goal, what your end goal is. If you only got into music just as a hobby, by all means, rock out. You know what I'm saying? By all means, rock out. If that's what you got into it for, just to enjoy, and you already making 6 and 7 figures a year. Look, I just do music because I love music. Rock out. Have fun. I'm glad for you. More power to you. Show me where I can get hired where you at. No, I'm playing. But you know what I'm saying? If that's what you got into music for, just for the pure love and the pure enjoyment, that's awesome. That's an awesome place to be. However, if you love music and you got into it for the love of it, but it also became your career, you're deserving of just as much as an athlete who goes out there and work their whole life to be able to do their skill. We're not any less valuable than NBA athletes. I'm sorry. I said it. I don't think what I do is any less valuable than what Kobe, Michael Jordan, LeBron, any of them do. I don't think it's any less valuable. I said it. Argue with me in the comments. Well, they can get people out of the house. Why can they get people out of the house? Because society has made that particular thing more valuable than what we do. Because they're not adding any more value other than both of us are entertaining. And it's been proven that music heals. It's been scientifically proven that music actually helps in healing. So they ain't doing nothing but entertaining. And I'm not saying that they don't work hard, but I'm also not saying that musicians don't work equally as hard. We might not be doing putting a physical strain on our body, but there is a mental strain that goes into being a musician that we can't verbalize. It's easy to look at somebody on a weight bench and see them lifting weights and see them sweating and running on the treadmill for an hour or 2 hours and be able to say, oh yeah, that person is putting in work. But you can't look at us learning a song and know the amount of energy and amount of mental strain that's going into trying to learn a craft and play proficiently, the amount of energy and the amount of strength that it takes to get over stage fright and all these types of things that we have to deal with, and playing with folks with bad attitudes and getting dogged out over a microphone for for crumbs, right? Don't make me go there. So I will say, with all due respect, yes, I feel absolutely what you're doing on your instrument is just as valuable as what Bron doing on the court. I said it. Y'all can go quote me on that. All right, this right here, I will be making some major purchases from you, bro. Thank you, Chris, man. I look out for that. The majority of musicians are undervalued. Yeah, and we're allowing it. We're allowing it. Not everybody is undervalued. Every musician out there ain't, let me say it the country way. Every musician out there ain't not getting paid. Everybody ain't struggling. I'm going to just tell you, some people have decided that, no, I'm not going to settle for this anymore. And once you decide, there you go. You decide. But now, once you decide, understand, you're going to have to call some shots. You're going to have to create some stuff for yourself. You're going to have to make some trails, let's say it that way. You're going to have to blaze your own trails in a lot of areas because, yeah, you're going against the grain. But it is possible, I can tell you from firsthand experience, it is absolutely possible that you don't have to keep saying yes to stuff that you don't want to do. And I'm going to rest my case there. All right. Cedric says, that's why I love the church I play for. When COVID had the church shut down, they never stopped paying us musicians because they understood our value, and I'm far from being a professional musician. That's awesome, man. And that's awesome. I'll give shout out to even when I was at New Birth for 12 years. That church took a lot of hits while I was there. Many of you guys know about many of them. But that church, when I was there, I left in 2019. So, hey, when I was there, one thing I can consistently say, they took care of us. As musicians, they took care of us. I can speak for me. I can't speak for everybody, but they took care of us. Even when we took our cuts, we took pay cuts. But that was consistent through all of the ups and downs. Like, that check was consistent. So shout out to all the churches who do handle their business. Even if you're underpaying your musicians, at least be consistent. Like, don't cut him. All right. So Cedric, good look for that. So you're not knocking the hustle. No, I'm not knocking the hustle. You gotta do what you gotta do. But at the same time, stop having your standards so low. Don't put them so high that you like outprice yourself, and it's like you ain't like, don't do that. But at the same time, stop undercutting yourself so bad that you're always the one that's bleeding at the end of the show. Stop doing that. That's not necessary. That's absolutely not necessary. So whatever you're doing, you could probably be doing better than that, unless you're just extremely too high already. Bernard says, hi, Jermaine from Kenya. Kenya's in the building today. Man, you are about to be in trouble when musicians don't show up for their gigs in churches this week and say, I didn't tell nobody not to show up now. Y'all, let's be clear. I ain't telling nobody not to show up. What I am saying is you have to have the conversations necessary. Maybe, let's say this, because I forget that sometimes people online, stuff can get misconstrued. So let's say this right here. If you are currently in a situation where, I'm just going to throw out random numbers, you're at a church and they've been paying you $150 and you've been there for longer than a year or longer than 2 years. Now, if you just got there, you need to just chill. But if you've been there for some time and, just throwing out a number, $150, and you're putting in the work, you're showing up on time, and in most cases, in most churches and things that we do, more stuff is added to your workload. That's been my experience. They don't take more off. Most of the time they add more too. So with those things being said, you need to have a conversation. All right. I noticed that y'all have been doing this. Don't get me wrong. With all due respect, I love what you're doing here. And the thing, even going back to this book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, just a pro tip. If you're going to negotiate with somebody, communicate what the win is for them. That don't mean you have to agree to do more. but it should be communicated to them what the win is for them. Maybe in a way of letting them know, hey, I know normally it's like it's a way that you put these conversations together. I know normally with musicians we would be charging, anywhere else I would play, we would be getting charged. I mean, paid X amount of dollars to do the rehearsal, and we don't even charge for the rehearsal, and I don't mind. I can keep doing the rehearsal. That ain't no problem for me. You're not adding anything extra to your plate. You're already doing it. But the way you word it when you're having your conversation, you let them know, look, this is the win for you. I'm going to continue to do these rehearsals. I'm not going to ask you for more pay for the rehearsal. All I'm asking, can we do 200 or whatever? You know what I'm saying? You having the conversation. Most people are too afraid to have the conversation because they're too afraid to be rejected. No, have the conversation. The worst they can do is say no. The best they can do is say yes. Those are going to probably be the two answers you get. But a lot of times, some negotiation can happen, and you'll be surprised what can come out of that situation just simply by you explaining to them what the wins for them could be, and also letting them know what a potential loss for them could be in this situation. Okay, this is what's going to happen if we don't. It's not a threat. Hear me clearly. But if we continue to go the way that we're going, I'm going to have to pick up some extra work because you're demanding a little bit more out of me. So I'm not going to be able to be available as much as you want me to be available, because obviously things have went up and y'all are demanding more and gas ain't going down. So I'm going to have to pick up some other work to make up the difference in what I'm doing here. I want to be here, but if I can't afford to be here, then I'm going to have to do something to make up the difference. Now, if you can't do whatever, I understand that, but likewise understand that I might have to make some other moves. So I'll be here when I can be here. Now, again, some of them might be like, hey, this is what it is. Take it or leave it. And now the ball is in your hand to make that decision. If you're going to continue to do this, if it's worth it, or if you need to move on and make another make another decision. Choose wisely. But my point to you today is have the conversation. Don't just walk out and just be that speaks bad of your integrity when you do that type of stuff. So don't just not show up. That's not good. That don't look good for your integrity. So make sure you still show up, but have those conversations. Have the necessary conversations. All right. So the book is great. I've read it several times. Probably need to read it several more. Yeah, that's a great book. Hello, Jermaine. I hope I haven't missed too much. Yeah, you, Mac. I'm afraid you're gonna have to go back. You're gonna have to go back and watch the replay because we didn't cover some ground on the day, Doc. But anyway, I really appreciate you guys for joining. It's been a great conversation today. I've enjoyed it. I enjoyed talking about it. And if any of you all, let's leave on this note. If any of you all are discouraged about this music thing and thinking that there's no hope, man, don't believe that. Don't believe that. God wouldn't have gave you this gift if he couldn't sustain it for you. And it's a gift. You're born with this. If you are a musician and you can hold a tune in the bucket, you know what I'm saying? You keep time and you do what you do. It might not be the best of the best, but you can do what you do. This is a gift that you have, that it was given to you. It's like God gave us the tree. He wasn't going to build a chair too. So it's your responsibility to hone that gift and turn it into what you need it to be for you in order to be that person that says, hey, I need 1,000 for these 3 songs or for this 1 song. In order to be that person, you got to hone your craft. I don't care what level you are. I haven't always played at this level, and there's still higher that I need to go, and I'm still working to get there. But you have to know that there is value in what you do, and you're worth more than what you're selling for. All of you, you're worth more than what you're selling for. Stop letting people sell you short and stop listening to people that's telling you you're not good enough. Get away from around the crowd that does not value you, right? Get away from around the folks that don't see the value in you. You have to listen and get yourself around people. If you can't find the right people, get some online. Listen to this live. I'm going to tell you, you're valuable, right? What you have to offer is good. You might not be as good as the cat that they always calling yet, because they don't know what you have to offer. I told my daughter this yesterday. Stop being so hard on yourself. You ain't even tapped into a piece of your potential. You don't even know what you can do yet. Stop being so hard on yourself. Give yourself credit for the work that you're putting in. Now, don't go so easy on yourself that you quit working and you quit developing, but give yourself for the energy and the effort that you put forth because it's worth something. Just because you're around a whole bunch of people that have not affirmed that value and that worth to you, that don't mean what you're doing is worthless. No, it's worth something. And so find yourself the people or the right environment that affirms your value and your worth, and you start talking. If you can't find the people, you say it to yourself, record it, and you listen to yourself say it every day. Bro, you straight, man. You good. You good. You dope. You fire on this base. Keep saying it until you become what you're talking about. Keep saying it. You keep saying it. If nobody else will say it to you, you say. Most all of us have smartphones. Record a voice memo saying, hey, whatever your name is, fill in the blank. I'm going to use Sean. Hey, Sean, bro, you dope on this bass, bro. Keep going, man. Keep going. And play that back to yourself. Hear yourself saying it. Because if you can't find nobody else to say it, you got to say it. You got to say it. You got to have somebody that's speaking in your ear that's telling you what you need to hear every single day. The Holy Spirit's probably doing it, but you ain't listening. So since you ain't listening, you got to hear yourself say it, right? All right, I'm going to really stop this time. Honor your commitments that you made. That's very good, Sean. I just want to get better. And you will. And you will. Keep telling yourself that and do the work, and it'll happen. How can I ask to get at least a love? How can I ask to get at least a love offer? Listen, if you want to give a love offering, be sure I'm going to give y'all my cash out. I don't ever do this, but I'm going to do it today. I'm going to do it today. I'm going to put it in I'm going to put it in the chat. Jermaine Morgan Band. That's my cash out. I sure did. Right there. That's my cash out. So I didn't come on here for this, y'all. I'm being silly, but if you want to give something, I ain't going to stop you. Listen, there's Mario Jenkins says, amen. Cedric said, I may not be able to sit in the pocket and groove and not stand out front, but thank God for the skills I do have. And then also, Cedric, you may not be able, just let's add a little thing to that. I may not be able to do it now. Well, use my, what you said, I may only be able to sit it. Let me read it right. I may only be able to sit in the pocket and hold a groove and, or not necessarily stand out front now. Add now in there. But soon, you know what I'm saying? Raise your level of expectation even for yourself. You know, some of us, we settle for too low. I'm not saying that there's nothing wrong with just, you know, laying back, holding the pocket down because somebody got to do it. I'm not saying anything is wrong with that, but make sure you're not settling for something less than what was for you to do. Anyway, I got to jump off here, guys. My camera about to cut off, and y'all going to see me talking in the dark. I'm going to read this last comment, and I'm jumping off. At least the thought to offer some compensation for your gift. Why do churches take advantage of some musicians and bassists to get it? I don't know. I don't have the answer. But hopefully the things that I've shared today can really, really help, guys. Anyway, my little camera light is blinking, so I'm going to jump off here. Y'all have a great day, man, and y'all enjoy. All right. Peace.